Fear doesn't always feel dramatic. It doesn't always look like panic or anxiety. Most of the time, fear is quiet. It shows up as hesitation, as delay, as "I'll do it tomorrow," as staying where you are, even when you know you've outgrown it. And the dangerous thing about fear is that it convinces you it's being practical. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time. You say you're being realistic. You say you're protecting yourself. But deep down, you know the truth. Fear has been making decisions for you. Fear decides when you speak up. Fear decides when you stay silent. Fear decides when you try and when you quit before you even begin. And what hurts the most is that fear doesn't stop you loudly. It stops you quietly. Nobody sees the dreams you delayed. Nobody hears the conversations you never had. Nobody knows how many times you almost started, but didn't. Fear doesn't need to destroy your life all at once. It only needs to keep you comfortable long enough for time to pass. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. Some of the strongest people you know are deeply afraid. They're afraid of being seen, afraid of failing publicly, afraid of trying again and feeling disappointed again. They're afraid of hoping, because hope makes you vulnerable, and vulnerability feels dangerous when you've been hurt before. So fear teaches you a safer way to live, a smaller way. Fear tells you, don't aim too high, don't expect too much, don't care too deeply. Not because it hates you, but because it wants to protect you from pain. But protection can become a prison if you stay there too long. Look at your routine. Be honest. How much of your daily life is built around avoiding discomfort, avoiding rejection, avoiding embarrassment, avoiding effort? Fear loves routine because routine keeps things predictable, and predictable feels safe, even when it's slowly draining you. Fear also hides inside procrastination. You tell yourself you're tired, that you'll start when you feel motivated, that you just need a break. But motivation isn't the problem. Fear is. Fear of discovering what happens if you actually give your best. Because if you try fully and it still doesn't work, what would that say about you? So fear convinces you to try halfway, so you can always tell yourself you could have done more. That's one of fear's greatest tricks. It would rather you live with potential than face the truth. Fear also shows up in relationships. You stay where you're not growing because you're afraid of being alone. You lower your standards because you're afraid of starting over. You keep explaining yourself to people who've already decided who you are because you're afraid of being misunderstood. And sometimes, fear looks like loyalty. But loyalty that costs you your future is not loyalty. It's fear wearing a familiar face. Let's talk about discipline. Because discipline scares people more than failure ever could. Failure lets you say, "At least I tried." Discipline removes excuses. Discipline forces you to face yourself every single day. And fear doesn't like mirrors. Discipline asks questions fear can't answer. What are you really capable of? How far could you go? What happens if you don't quit? So fear whispers, "Take it easy. You're doing enough. Don't push too hard." Not because you are, but because fear doesn't want to lose control. Even faith has fear. People don't talk about this enough. It's scary to trust God when the path doesn't make sense. It's scary to pray and hear silence. It's scary to believe when nothing around you looks like progress. Fear and faith sounds like, what if I heard wrong? What if I wait and nothing changes? What if I give my all and still fall? But faith was never meant to feel safe. Faith was always meant to be walked before it's understood. Here's the truth that changes everything. Fear doesn't disappear when you wait. It disappears when you move. Not when you feel ready. Not when you feel confident. But when you take action anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that fear won't make your decisions anymore. That your future matters more than your comfort. You don't have to conquer fear today. You just have to stop letting it lead. One small step, one honest decision, one moment of movement. That's how fear loses its grip. Because one day, you'll look back and realize, fear didn't leave because you became fearless. It left because you stopped listening. And that's when life begins to change. Quietly, slowly, for real. If fear has been holding you back, you're not broken. You're just standing at the edge of becoming more. If this message helped you even a little, stay connected. Follow for more conversations like this. Share it with someone who's been fighting fear in silence. And remember, growth doesn't start when fear disappears. It starts when you move anyway.